Does long distance racing in 40 knots strong offshore wind sound crazy to you? Well, add to that 400 wing foilers almost crashing into each other at the starting line. Welcome to the Defi Wing. Here's my experience.
Filling my mind with these images, and it's the way that you look at me, makes me feel like I can't breathe. You got me saying words in my head, filling my mind with these images, yeah. And it's the way that you look at me, makes me feel like I can't breathe. It ain't right, it ain't right.
Long distance racing means one of the races can be between 20 and 40 kilometers long. This year in total there were 7 races, and for the first time there were 400 wing foilers, and it honestly was one of the most unique experiences of my life. One really cool part was that I was able to meet the wing foiling, as they say in France, crème de la crème. Some of the really famous riders. I met Mathis Ghio.
Right, Mathis Ghio. And we did it.
He actually won the event. He's one of the most successful wingfoil racers out there. And he's just a super nice guy. So in the first race, I went out with a Crusader. I wanted to use my 4 square meter wing, even though the wind wasn't super strong, just to make sure that I save my arms for all the upcoming races. The jibes, I really tried to go wide to avoid other people in the water. On the first day, the winds, I'm not sure exactly how strong they were. I would say maybe around 20 knots of wind. Then that same day, there was another race, but I did not participate because I wanted to see how my body reacts after this first race. Then I met one of the most iconic people in both windsurfing and wingfoiling, Balz Müller from Switzerland.
Yeah, with Balz Müller at Defi Wing.
What a cool guy. It was such an honor to meet him and to talk to him. Then on day 2, the wind picked up. The forecast was 18 to 26 knots of wind in Gruissan, but you actually race quite far down the coast. At that bottom mark, the wind is typically 10 knots stronger than in Gruissan, which makes gear choice especially difficult. So the cloudy weather impacted me there. I was on the lemon board for the first time with my small foil. I didn't stay up on foil during the preparation for the start. And then there was a big lull. I couldn't get back up on foil, and I was just sitting there for 7 minutes waiting to get up on foil. And then I finally did, and of course it was in the very back of the field. And I wasn't sure whether I should finish the race or should abandon it, but I decided to anyway go for it. And my goal was just, to finish it. It took me 53 minutes. I finished 320th out of 329, but it was still a good experience to finish the race. I was glad that I did. The best riders have an average speed of 57 kilometers an hour, which is insane. It's insanely fast. Yeah, I went pretty much exactly at half the speed. Race number 4, they changed the course. They actually added a downwind leg to the course, which meant 2 extra jibes. I didn't have a great start, but then I nailed one jibe after the other. So the first one at the bottom end of the course, the second one near the starting line, the third one at the bottom end, and then I came back. There was the fourth one, which I did again. And the foot switch is always the scariest part for me. And in these long distance races, if you go on such long reaches, your legs start to tremble a bit and to get a bit weak, or sometimes you feel like you're about to get a cramp. And then that last jibe, I did the jibe and I saw the finish line in the distance. So I tried to do the foot switch. Of course I messed it up. And then again, it took me a while to get back up on foil. I was really sad about that because I thought, hey, maybe I can do one clean race at least. But still, I would say the most successful race of the bunch for me. I finished with a time of 53 minutes, 301st out of 331. So of course, again, in the back of the field. So that race 4 really took it out of me. Also trying to get back up on foil. My arms, my biceps were starting to cramp up. My legs were too. There was a third race that day, but I decided not to participate in that one. Out of the 7 races, there's 1 discard. So your worst race is discarded from your overall results. I had a problem with ventilation, I think, with my gear. You can see it in some of the footage that before the crashes, you see this air, or like you see some water splashing behind my foil. This is probably due to my mast being rather thick and also the stab being too big. And then I spoke to Simon Burner. He is an Austrian rider and he came 7th, which is incredible. So he's incredibly quick. He actually works for Ozone.
So I work for Ozone on the development of the wings, and we're here in a nice Cuisson after day 2 of Defi.
Ozone actually came out end of last year with their Fusion wing, which has this double panel, kind of like a windsurf racing sail, a very aerodynamic shape, which is one of the latest trends in racing. And yeah, he gave me also some good advice on gear. There will be a separate video about recommendations, how to Defi Wing, where we'll also talk about gear. Day 3, cloudless skies, and the Tramontana wind really kicked in. We had, I believe, more than 40 knots of wind on this course, and it was crazy. You know, my smallest wing is a 4-meter wing, and I could at times barely hold on to it. Next time I go to the Defi Wing, I definitely want to bring a smaller wing, that's for sure. So for race 6, they made the course much longer. It was just 2 reaches of 10 kilometers each. So just 2 jibes.
Jibe the mark and finish and check out.
I really wanted to do a better start. I really wanted to stay on foil and just, jibe and have good timing in my jibes to actually reach the starting line at the right point. I left the skippers meeting a little bit early and I just heard when they started the countdown and I set my watch. But I must have set it wrong or hit the button again. And because of that, I was too early to the starting line and I saw no one was besides me, so my time was wrong. I had to jibe again and then messed it all up. And then we had these really long reaches, and it's just crazy to be just going in one direction for such a long time and traveling so much distance. So the last race, race 7. In race 6, I was actually wearing a neoprene hoodie, so I was finally not cold, which is something I highly recommend. Overall, I had a lot of energy after race 6, even though I could barely get up in the morning. I don't know why, but I was super motivated for the last race. And then they decided to make race 7 the longest of them all, double the length. 40 kilometers, so the long reaches, but 2 of them. Oh my god, I was scared. In howling winds. In this one, I was late to the skippers meeting. I just got on the water kind of just in time and raced to the starting line, but was kind of 30 seconds late. The usual for me, but since I'm so slow, it doesn't matter anyway. It was, even though it's so crazy, a meditative experience to go for such a long time and for such a long distance. My time was 1 hour 28 minutes for the whole race, so 1.5 hours. the end of that race, crossing that finish line of that last race after such a long time, doing 120 kilometers of racing in total, 5 races over 3 days. It was so cool. I was beyond excited. So I got off the water with a big smile, and I know I'll be going back for sure. So my final placement in the event was 308th out of 393. And am I proud of that? I don't know. Of course, it's not a great placement, but I'm really proud of having participated, of my body holding up. I learned a shit ton about racing in general, about gear, about preparation. So I hope you enjoyed my recap. Let me know in the comments, have you done any racing? Have you tried to push your max speed? Would you be interested in doing something like the Defi Wing? Have fun out there on the water. I'll see you in the next one.